The Vorzak Imperial fleet appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. It was the morning of June 12, 2087. 50 massive warships, each the size of a small city, positioned themselves around the planet. Their dark metal hulls reflected the sunlight. As they moved into formation, Commander Grell stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at the blue-green planet below. He had conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems. Earth would be the 18th. He expected it to fall within days just like all the others. "Prepare the landing forces," he ordered. His second-in-command, Officer Vrax, nodded and transmitted the command to the fleet. On Earth, the first sign of trouble came when all satellite communications suddenly failed. Then radar systems around the world detected the unknown objects in orbit. Panic spread quickly. Captain Alex Russell sat in the North American Defense Alliance Command Center and watched the radar screens with growing horror. The objects were huge, and they were clearly not from Earth. "Get me the president," he said to his communications officer, "and contact every allied nation. We need to coordinate a response immediately." Within hours, world leaders gathered in an emergency video conference. None of them had answers. Earth's space capabilities were limited. They had no weapons that could reach the alien ships, let alone damage them. Dr. Susan Collins, the leading xenobiologist at the Global Science Foundation, joined the emergency meeting. "We need to understand who they are before we try to fight or talk to them," she said. "This is first contact with an alien species. We should proceed with caution." But they didn't have time for caution. The alien ships began deploying smaller vessels, hundreds of them descending toward Earth's surface. In rural Nebraska, Greg Phillips was checking his corn crop when he saw something strange in the sky. A dark object, shaped like an arrow, was coming down fast. It landed in his field with a thud that shook the ground. Greg didn't run. Instead, he walked back to his truck and took out his hunting rifle. He had fought in the Middle East years ago. He wasn't going to abandon his farm without a fight. The object opened, and 3 tall figures stepped out. They wore armor that gleamed like oil in the sunlight. Their helmets had no visible openings, just a smooth black surface where a face should be. Greg raised his rifle and fired. The bullet hit one of the figures in the chest and bounced off without effect. The aliens turned toward him. One of them raised a weapon. Greg dived behind his truck as a beam of energy hit the ground where he had been standing, leaving a smoking hole in the dirt. He was outmatched, but he had made the first human stand against the invaders. Similar scenes played out across the planet. The aliens, who humans would later learn called themselves the Vorzak, established landing zones in strategic locations. They expected immediate surrender, as had happened on other worlds they conquered. Instead, they met resistance everywhere they went. In London, police officers faced alien troops with only their standard firearms. In Beijing, the military mobilized tank divisions. In Rio de Janeiro, citizens threw homemade explosives at the invaders from rooftops. None of it did much damage to the Vorzak, but it surprised them. They were used to species that surrendered as soon as they demonstrated their superior technology. Commander Grell received reports of unexpected casualties from all landing zones. He frowned at the figures on his screen. "These humans are more aggressive than our intelligence suggested," he said to Officer Vrax. "They are primitive," Vrax replied. "They have no energy weapons, no space fleet. They cannot harm us in any meaningful way." "Yet they fight anyway," Grell said. Interesting. By the end of the first day, the Vorzak controlled several major cities. They established force fields around their positions that no human weapon could penetrate. They began setting up processing centers, where they planned to catalog the human population for labor assignment. But humans didn't line up to be processed. They hid. They fought. They died rather than surrender. Captain Russell coordinated resistance, efforts from a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. "We need to capture their technology," he told his team. "It's our only hope. We can't beat them with what we have." A week into the invasion, a breakthrough came. A team of soldiers in Detroit managed to kill a Vorzak soldier when a building collapsed on it. They recovered its armor and weapons before other aliens arrived. Dr. Collins led the team that studied the captured technology. Their armor is incredible, she reported, but the weapons are surprisingly simple. I think we can figure out how they work. Meanwhile, Commander Grell ordered a tactical reassessment. This conquest was not proceeding according to standard protocols. These humans are different, he told his war council. They do not accept defeat even when victory is impossible. All species submit eventually, said War Minister Zolan, joining via hologram from the imperial capital. Increase the pressure. Destroy their population centers. They will bend. Grell nodded, but he felt uneasy. There was something about these humans that bothered him. They learned quickly. Each day, their resistance became more organized, more effective. By the end of the first month, the Vorzak controlled 30% of Earth's surface, including most major cities. But their casualties were 10 times higher than in any previous conquest. And human scientists were already beginning to unlock the secrets of Vorzak technology. In a hidden laboratory, Dr. Collins successfully activated a Vorzak energy weapon. It hummed to life in her hands, its power core glowing blue. Now we can fight back, she said. Greg Phillips, the Nebraska farmer who had fired the first shot of resistance, now led a group of fighters who specialized in ambushing Vorzak patrols. They couldn't penetrate the alien armor yet, but they were learning its weak points. Aim for the joints, Greg told his group, and the neck seals. There's something about Earth's air they don't like. They never take off those helmets. On the Vorzak command ship, Commander Grell reviewed the first month's data with growing concern. At this rate, conquering Earth would take years, not days. And every day the humans grew more dangerous. They adapt too quickly, he told Officer Vrax. We may need to request reinforcements. It was an admission of failure he had never made before. But as he looked down at the blue planet, Grell couldn't shake the feeling that this world was different. These humans were different. The last invaders of Earth would face a challenge unlike any they had known before. 3 months had passed since the Vorzak arrived. The aliens now controlled most major cities around the world, but their grip was not as strong as they had planned. Humans refused to give up. Lieutenant Kelly Martinez moved through the ruins of Chicago in the early morning darkness. Once this had been a busy downtown street. Now it was a battlefield. 5 other resistance fighters followed her, each carrying weapons that didn't exist 3 months ago. Remember? Aim for the neck seals, Kelly whispered. One good hit and they go down. They had learned this the hard way. Thousands of humans had died discovering the weak points in Vorzak armor, but now they knew where to strike. A Vorzak patrol rounded the corner ahead, 3 alien soldiers walking with the confidence of conquerors. They didn't expect trouble. That was their mistake. Kelly raised her hand, signaling her team to wait. The aliens moved closer. When they were 20 feet away, she dropped her hand. 6. Modified Vorzak energy weapons fired at once. The shots hit the aliens where their helmets connected to their body armor. 2 dropped immediately. The third managed to fire back once before falling. Move, Kelly ordered. Her team rushed forward, collected the alien weapons and equipment, and disappeared into the ruins before reinforcements could arrive. Miles away, beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Peter Wright studied a Vorzak body. The boy alien had died when its helmet was damaged during a fight. Peter had spent weeks analyzing its biology. They can't breathe our air for long, he explained to Captain Russell. Earth's oxygen levels are too high for them. It slowly poisons them. Captain, Russell nodded. That's why they never take off their helmets. It's a weakness we can exploit. Peter pointed to samples under a microscope. Their cells break down after about 10 minutes of exposure. If we can find a way to damage their life support systems, they become vulnerable. This information spread through the resistance network. Across the globe, humans focused their attacks on the Vorzak helmet systems. A damaged helmet meant a dead alien. On the Vorzak command ship, Science Officer Zeth reported to Commander Grell with growing concern. The humans are targeting our environmental system specifically. They've learned our weakness too quickly. Grell paced the command deck. How is this possible? They're a primitive species. They haven't even colonized their own solar system. They're adaptable, Zeth said. More so than any species we've encountered. They learn to use our technology with minimal exposure. Some of them are now using modified versions of our weapons against us. Grell dismissed this concern. The Empire has never failed to subjugate a world. These humans will break eventually. But his confidence was shaken that evening when a coordinated human attack destroyed 5 Vorzak supply depots simultaneously. The Resistance had somehow cracked their communication codes and synchronized their assault perfectly. For the first time, Commander Grell began to understand that this species was different. The humans weren't just fighting, they were learning, adapting, and becoming more dangerous each day. In what remained of Boston, a former auto mechanic named Jack Moore had become a hero to the Resistance. He had a strange talent for understanding Vorzak technology. Within weeks of the invasion, he was taking apart alien devices and putting them back together with improvements. Their tech isn't actually that advanced, Jack explained to a group of fighters. It's just different. They've been using the same designs for centuries. There's no innovation. He showed them a modified Vorzak weapon. I increased the power output by 30%, and this, he held up a small device, will jam their helmet communications within 50 feet. They rely on constant contact with each other. When that's gone, they get confused. The Resistance fighters nodded eagerly. Each new adaptation gave them a better chance of survival. The Vorzak had expected to control the entire planet within weeks. After 3 months, they held less territory than they had after the first month. Human resistance grew stronger daily. Commander Grell sat alone in his quarters, reviewing the latest casualty reports. The numbers were unacceptable. At this rate, his invasion force would be depleted before the planet was fully conquered. He composed a message to Imperial Command, something he had never done during a conquest. Request additional forces for Earth subjugation. Local species displaying unprecedented resistance capabilities and adaptation rate. Current force insufficient for complete planetary control. Sending the message felt like admitting failure. In his career spanning over 200 Earth years, Commander Grell had never requested reinforcements. Dr. Susan Collins had moved her research team to a hidden facility in the Australian outback. There, she coordinated with scientists around the world to study everything they could learn about the invaders. We're making progress understanding their ship systems, she told a global resistance meeting via a secure network. Their propulsion technology is within our grasp. If we can capture an intact shuttle, we might be able to reverse engineer it. In Africa, resistance fighters had already managed this feat. They had ambushed a small Vorzak landing craft and captured it with minimal damage. Engineers were taking it apart piece by piece, learning how it worked. In the ruins of Tokyo, a former video game designer named Ray Winters had created a simulation of Vorzak battle tactics based on observed patterns. The Resistance used it to train fighters, preparing them for how the aliens would respond in combat situations. A year after the invasion began, humanity had transformed. Old national borders meant little now. People united against a common enemy. Scientists shared discoveries freely. Soldiers taught civilians to fight. Everyone contributed to the resistance in whatever way they could. Commander Grell received word that reinforcements were on the way. 6 additional battleships would arrive within 3 months. He hoped it would be enough. What he didn't know was that humans had already begun preparation for the reinforcements' arrival. Listening posts around the planet had intercepted his transmission. Dr. Peter Wright and his team were developing specialized bioweapons that targeted Vorzak biology. Jack Moore and other engineers were designing jammers to disrupt the alien ship's navigation systems. As the first year of occupation ended, the Vorzak controlled less territory than they had after the first month. Commander Grell could not understand how a technologically inferior species was pushing back his forces so effectively. What he failed to grasp was the fundamental nature of humanity. When faced with extinction, humans didn't surrender. They evolved. The last invaders of Earth had awakened a sleeping giant, and the true battle was just beginning. 2 years had passed since the Vorzak ships first appeared in Earth's sky. The war had changed. Humans were no longer just resisting, They were fighting back and winning. General Olivia Booker sat in her mobile command center, studying a holographic map of Earth. Red areas showed Vorzak control. Blue showed human-controlled regions. 2 years ago, the map had been mostly red. Now it was mostly blue. The aliens are retreating from South America entirely, reported her intelligence officer. They're consolidating forces around their remaining strongholds in North America, Europe, and Asia. Olivia nodded. She had been a colonel in the United States Army before the invasion. Now she led the United Earth Defense Force, a global military organization created to coordinate humanity's fight against the Vorzak. "What about the reinforcements?" she asked. "Our space monitoring stations detect 6 large ships approaching. They'll reach Earth orbit in 3 days." This was the moment they had been preparing for. When the invasion began, humans had no way to fight the Vorzak in space. That had changed. Jack Daniels, once a car mechanic from Detroit, had become the head of Earth's Technology Adaptation Division. His team had taken captured Vorzak equipment and rebuilt it for human use. They had created weapons that could punch through alien armor, communication systems that could intercept Vorzak transmissions, and, most importantly, they had modified Vorzak ships. "Our fleet is ready," Jack told General Booker through the holographic display. 15 ships, crewed and armed. They're not pretty, but they'll fight. 15 ships against 6 should have been good odds. But the Vorzak reinforcements were massive battleships, each carrying thousands of troops and hundreds of smaller fighting craft. Earth's ships were cobbled together from captured Vorzak shuttles and human space technology. It would be a hard fight. Commander Eric Patel led the operation that might give them a chance. His team of 30 soldiers had trained for this mission for months. They wore modified Vorzak armor and carried both human and alien weapons. "Remember, we need those codes intact." Eric briefed his team as they prepared to assault a Vorzak command post in the ruins of what had once been Seattle. "Without them, our ships will be sitting ducks." The Vorzak used complex security codes that changed daily. Any ship approaching their fleet without the correct codes would be destroyed immediately. Eric's mission was to capture those codes before the reinforcements arrived. The assault began at midnight. Eric's team struck from multiple directions, using jammers to block Vorzak communications. The aliens fought hard, but after 2 years of war, humans had learned how to beat them. Aim for the joints in their armor, disable their helmet systems, use their own technology against them. Within 20 minutes, Eric stood in the command center. Most of the aliens were dead. 2 were captured alive. "Get that data," he ordered, pointing to the main computer terminal. A tech specialist connected, a device Jack had designed. It bypassed Vorzak security measures and downloaded the authentication codes. "Got it," the specialist said after a tense minute. "Complete set for the next week." Eric activated his secure communication link. "Phoenix has the package." Repeat, "Phoenix has the package." In her command center, General Booker received the news with grim satisfaction. "Send the codes to all ships," she ordered. "Launch the fleet." Earth's makeshift space fleet rose from hidden bases around the planet. From the outside, they looked like Vorzak ships, though smaller and showing signs of repair. Inside, they were crewed by human pilots and soldiers, all wearing adapted life support systems to survive in space. Captain Lisa Young commanded the lead ship. She had been an airline pilot before the war. Now she controlled a vessel capable of interplanetary travel. "All ships report ready," her communications officer said. "Vorzak defense stations are not firing. They think we're friendly." Lisa nodded. "Maintain formation. Prepare for the reinforcement fleet's arrival." 3 days later, the 6 Vorzak reinforcement ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They sent standard authentication requests. Earth's ships responded with the stolen codes. "They're accepting our signals," Lisa's communications officer reported. "They think we're the Earth occupation fleet coming to meet them." Lisa smiled grimly. "Bring us alongside their command ship. All other vessels target your assigned ships. Fire on my mark." Earth's 15 ships moved into position around the 6 larger Vorzak vessels. The aliens suspected nothing until it was too late. "Fire," Lisa ordered. All 15 Earth ships fired at once using weapons based on Vorzak technology, but modified by Jack and his team to be more powerful. The aliens, caught completely by surprise, took devastating damage in the first volley. 3. Vorzak ships were disabled immediately. The other 3 managed to return fire, destroying 2 Earth vessels. The space battle lasted 7 hours. When it ended, 4 Earth ships remained. All 6 Vorzak reinforcement vessels were destroyed or captured. For the first time in Vorzak history, their fleet had been defeated in battle. On the Vorzak command ship in Earth orbit, Commander Grell received the news with shock. Reinforcements, destroyed by humans? It was unthinkable. The Empire had never lost a space battle. "We must report this to the High Command," Officer Vrak suggested. Grell knew what that meant. Failure of this magnitude would result in his immediate execution. The Empire did not tolerate defeat. "No," he decided. "We will commit all remaining forces to a final ground assault. We will crush the human resistance once and for all." He ordered all troops to converge on the largest remaining human stronghold, the ruins of Denver, where General Booker's command center was located. It would be an all-or-nothing attack. General Booker received intelligence about the coming assault. "They're desperate," she told her staff. "They're committing everything they have left." "Should we evacuate?" someone asked. "No," Booker said firmly. "This is our chance to end this war. Prepare all defenses. Call in every fighter we have in range. The Vorzak want a final battle? We'll give them one they'll never forget." The battle of Denver began at dawn. Vorzak troops and vehicles advanced from all directions. The aliens used their most powerful weapons, determined to crush human resistance once and for all. Humans fought with everything they had. Soldiers with modified Vorzak weapons, civilian volunteers with improvised explosives, engineers with devices designed to disrupt alien technology. The battle raged for 3 days. Buildings crumbled. Both sides took heavy casualties. But slowly, the tide turned in humanity's favor. Their adaptations of Vorzak technology proved superior to the original versions. Their tactics, developed over 2 years of bitter fighting, outmatched the rigid Vorzak battle doctrines. On the 3rd day, a team of human soldiers broke through to the Vorzak command post. There, they found Commander Grell directing the battle. "Surrender," Eric Patel told him, weapon aimed at the alien commander's head. For a moment, Grell considered fighting to the death, but something in the human's steady gaze made him reconsider. There was strength there, but also something he hadn't seen before in an enemy: respect. Slowly, Grell removed his helmet, exposing himself to Earth's toxic atmosphere. "I surrender," he said, speaking through the translation device at his throat. It was the first time in the 5,000-year history of the Vorzak Empire that a fleet commander had surrendered rather than fight to the death. The Battle of Denver marked the end of the Vorzak invasion of Earth. With their commander captured and their reinforcements destroyed, the remaining alien forces surrendered within days. Humanity had not just survived, they had won, and they had captured intact Vorzak ships, weapons, and most importantly, the technology to travel between stars. The last invasion of Earth was over, but the story of humanity among the stars was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the Vorzak invasion of Earth began. The planet was changed forever. Cities were being rebuilt. The old nations still existed, but they now worked together through the United Earth Council. Humanity had not only survived the invasion, they had grown stronger because of it. Dr. Nicole Harris stood in the control room of the new Denver Space Center. On the wall was a large screen showing star maps. Not human star maps, but Vorzak ones. Nicole and her team had spent 3 years deciphering them. "The Vorzak Empire controls 23 star systems," she explained to the council members who had gathered to hear her report. "Earth is here, at the edge of their territory." She pointed to a small dot at the corner of the map. "And these other dots?" asked a council member. "Those are the 17 worlds the Vorzak conquered before they reached Earth. Some have been under their control for decades. General Olivia Booker, now head of the United Earth Defense Force, studied the map carefully. Do these worlds have native populations? Nicole nodded. According to the Vorzak records, yes. Most of these species were peaceful. They surrendered quickly when the Vorzak arrived. They've been used as labor for the Empire ever since. The Council members looked at each other. The decision they were about to make would change humanity's future forever. The ships are ready, announced Admiral Frank Cooper, who had once been a naval captain before the invasion. We've converted 12 captured Vorzak vessels and built 8 new ones using their technology. The fleet can depart whenever the Council gives the order. Council Chairperson Maya Chen stood up. We all know what it's like to live under Vorzak occupation. We cannot leave these other species to suffer the same fate. I call for a vote on Operation Liberation. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not just defend itself. It would take the fight to the stars and free the other conquered worlds. 2 months later, the first true human-made interstellar vessel was ready for launch. It was named the EDF Defiance. Unlike the cobbled-together ships that had fought the Vorzak in Earth orbit, the Defiance was built from the ground up using reverse-engineered alien technology. It was crewed by the best military personnel, scientists, and engineers Earth had to offer. Captain Ryan Scott stood on the bridge of the Defiance looking at his crew. Some were in military uniforms. Others wore the jumpsuits of the science division. One figure stood out, a tall, thin alien wearing a modified life support suit. This was Zeth, formerly a Vorzak science officer who had defected to humanity during the later stages of the war. All systems are ready, Captain, reported his executive officer. The drive is charged and stable. We can enter FTL whenever you give the command. Ryan nodded. Take us out, Helm. Nice and easy. The Defiance rose smoothly from its launch pad. Unlike the chemical rockets of the pre-invasion era, it moved using Vorzak gravity manipulation technology. It made no sound as it accelerated upward, passing through the clouds and into space. Earth looked beautiful from orbit. The scars of war were barely visible from this distance. New cities gleamed where ruins had once stood. Humanity had not just survived, it had rebuilt and grown stronger. Course is set for the Talaris system, Zeth said, his translator converting his native clicks and whistles into English. It is the closest world conquered by my former people. How long will it take us to get there? Ryan asked. At maximum. FTL speed, 3 Earth weeks, Zeth replied. The Talarians have been under Vorzak control for nearly 30 Earth years. Ryan looked at the main screen, which now showed the stars ahead of them. Helm, engage FTL drive. Let's bring freedom to the galaxy. The Defiance seemed to stretch for a moment, then vanished in a flash of light, leaving Earth behind. 3 weeks later, the ship dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Talaris system. The planet they sought was the third from its sun, a world, with 2 large oceans and 3 major continents. Scans show a small Vorzak presence, reported the science officer. 1 orbital station, 2 ground bases, approximately 500 Vorzak personnel. What about the Talarians? Ryan asked. Life signs indicate approximately 4 billion native inhabitants. They appear to be concentrated in large settlement areas, likely labor camps. Ryan turned to Zeth. What can you tell us about the Talarians? They are a peaceful species, Zeth replied. Physically, they resemble Earth's sea mammals, what you call dolphins. But they evolved to live on land. They had developed early spaceflight when the Empire arrived. They surrendered after a single demonstration of Vorzak power. Ryan nodded. Open a channel to the Vorzak station. The communications officer worked her console. Channel open, sir. Vorzak station. This is Captain Ryan Scott of the Earth Defense, Force Vessel Defiance. We demand your immediate surrender and withdrawal from the Talaris system. There was a long pause before a reply came. Unknown vessel. Identify yourself properly or be destroyed. This world belongs to the Vorzak Empire. Ryan smiled grimly. They don't believe us. Let's show them we're serious. Weapons. Target their defense systems only. We want to minimize casualties. The Defiance fired a single shot from its main weapon. The energy beam, based on Vorzak technology but enhanced by human innovation, struck the station's defensive shield generator, disabling it instantly. Vorzak station, that was a warning. The next shot will not be. We know your weaknesses, we've beaten your kind before. Surrender now. This time the response was immediate. How is this possible? Who are you? We are humans, from Earth. Your Empire tried to conquer us, they failed. Now we're here to free the Talarians and all other worlds under Vorzak control. After a brief battle, the small Vorzak garrison surrendered. They had never expected to face resistance from outside their system, especially not from a species they had tried to conquer. When the first human landing party set foot on Talaris, they were met with disbelief from the native population. No conquered world had ever been liberated before. The concept was entirely new to them. A Talarian elder approached Ryan and his team. The alien was slightly shorter than a human, with smooth blue-gray skin and large expressive eyes. You have removed the oppressors. Will you now take their place? The elder asked through a translation device. No, Ryan replied firmly. We come to free you, not to rule you. We will share our knowledge and technology with you, help you rebuild, and then leave your world in your control. The elder's large eyes blinked rapidly, apparently a sign of surprise. Why would you do this? Because we know what it's like to face extinction, Ryan said. And we've learned that the galaxy is stronger when species help each other rather than conquer each other. Word of the liberation spread quickly among the Talarians. Celebrations erupted across their world. For the first time in 3 decades, they were free. Before the Defiance left, they provided the Talarians with defensive technology and knowledge to protect themselves against future Vorzak attempts at reconquest. They also established a communication system that would allow Talaris to contact Earth if needed. As the ship prepared to depart for the next world on their list, Ryan stood on the bridge looking at the view screen. Below them, Talarian cities were glowing with lights that had been dimmed for decades under occupation. One down, he said quietly. 16 more to go. The human liberation fleet had begun its mission. The species that had nearly been conquered was now changing the galaxy forever. 10 years had passed since the Vorzak first arrived on Earth. In that decade, humanity had transformed from a single-planet species fighting for survival into the leaders of the largest alliance the galaxy had ever known. Admiral Olivia Booker stood on the bridge of the EDF Victory, the flagship of the Coalition fleet. Around her ship were 300 vessels from 22 different species, all formerly conquered by the Vorzak, all now free and united against their former oppressors. Status report, she requested. All ships report ready, Admiral, replied her communications officer. The Talarian vessels are in position on our left flank. The Moxian ships are covering our right. The Kentari Defense Squadron is supporting our rear. Olivia nodded. The coalition she led represented a new kind of power in the galaxy, one based on mutual defense rather than conquest. Each liberated world had joined willingly, contributing ships and troops to free the remaining worlds under Vorzak control. The scans of Vorzak Prime are complete, reported her science officer. Their orbital defenses are formidable, but we've identified the weak points. On the main view screen was an image of the Vorzak homeworld, a large planet with 3 moons and a massive ring system. Around it orbited dozens of defense stations and hundreds of warships. This was the heart of the empire that had terrorized the galaxy for 5,000 years. Open a channel to all coalition ships, Olivia ordered. When the connection was confirmed, she spoke clearly and firmly. This is Admiral Booker. Today we face the greatest challenge of our campaign, the Vorzak. Homeworld is heavily defended as we expected. But remember, we are not here for revenge. We are not here to destroy. We are here to end the cycle of conquest and bring freedom to the galaxy. Fight with courage, but also with restraint. The future begins today. She nodded to her communications officer to close the channel, then turned to her second-in-command. Begin the operation. The coalition fleet moved forward as one. The Vorzak defenders responded immediately, launching fighters and charging weapons. The space around their homeworld erupted in battle. On Earth, humans followed the events from afar. The Global Science Academy had become the center for studying Vorzak language, technology, and culture. Dr. Ben Howard, the leading xenoanthropologist, had made a discovery that helped explain the Empire's behavior. The Vorzak haven't truly innovated in over 1,000 years, he explained to the United Earth Council. Their technological development plateaued centuries ago. Their society became rigid, focused only on expansion rather than improvement. Is that why we were able to adapt their technology so quickly? Asked a council member. Ben nodded. Exactly. They've been using the same designs for generations. When we captured their ships and weapons, we didn't just copy them, we improved them. We did in months what they failed to do in centuries. This insight had proven crucial to the Coalition's strategy. In every battle against the Vorzak, they faced an enemy using familiar technology. The Coalition's modified versions consistently outperformed the originals. In orbit around Vorzak Prime, the battle raged for hours. The Imperial fleet fought with the desperation of those who had never known defeat until recently. But the Coalition forces had something the Vorzak lacked: experience fighting against superior numbers and winning through adaptation and cooperation. Imperial Admiral Krex commanded the Vorzak defense from his massive flagship. He had expected the Coalition to bombard the planet into submission. It's what the Vorzak would have done. Instead, a small group of ships broke through his lines and headed for a specific point on the planet's defense grid. Stop them, he ordered. But it was too late. Captain Lisa Moore led the precision strike team. Her ship, the EDF Courage, was smaller and faster than the Vorzak battleships. Her crew included specialists from 5 different species, each contributing unique skills to the mission. Target locked, reported her weapons officer. Ready to fire. Execute, Lisa ordered. The Courage fired a specially designed weapon that didn't destroy the main defense control center. It simply neutralized it. Across the planet, the automated defense systems went offline. All strike teams, proceed to your targets, Lisa commanded. Similar precision strikes disabled key military installations across the planet, all without civilian casualties. The Coalition had studied the Vorzak homeworld carefully, identifying exactly which systems to target to minimize loss of life, while neutralizing the Empire's ability to wage war. Within hours, the space battle was over. The Imperial fleet, cut off from their command structure and facing weapons they couldn't match, surrendered. For the first time in 5 millennia, alien ships landed on Vorzak Prime not as conquests or tributes, but as equals. In the Imperial Palace, the Vorzak Supreme leader watched with disbelief as human soldiers entered his throne room. Behind them came representatives from species his empire had conquered and enslaved for generations, yet none of them carried execution weapons or showed signs of seeking revenge. Captain Lisa Moore approached him. Supreme Leader, the Coalition, offers terms of peace. Peace? The Vorzak leader seemed confused by the concept. You have us at your mercy. Why not destroy us as we would have destroyed you? Because that's not who we are, Lisa replied simply. Humans nearly became extinct when your forces invaded Earth. We learned the value of survival, but also the importance of compassion. The terms presented to the Vorzak government were unprecedented in galactic history. The Empire would surrender its military capacity and release all conquered worlds. But the Vorzak themselves would not be punished or enslaved. Instead, they would be integrated into a new galactic council where all species would have equal representation. Some Vorzak officials protested, unable to comprehend a victory not followed by subjugation, but many others, especially younger Vorzak, who had seen their supposedly invincible empire defeated, recognized this as a chance for a better future. 3 months later, representatives from 30 species gathered on neutral ground, a space station built specifically for the purpose to sign the Galactic Concordat. The document established laws against conquest and enslavement, created mutual defense agreements, and set up systems for peaceful dispute resolution. Admiral Olivia, Booker stood beside the Talarian High Speaker as they watched the supreme leader of the Vorzak add his signature to the document. "You have changed the galaxy forever," the Talarian said to her. "The Vorzak were the last invaders your world would ever face, and you have ensured they are the last invaders any world will face." Olivia smiled. "We didn't do it alone. Every species in this room contributed to this moment." As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Ben Howard reflected on humanity's journey. In just 10 years, they had gone from a single planet fighting for survival to architects of a new galactic peace. They had done it not through domination, but by offering a different path, one where former enemies could become allies, where strength came from cooperation rather than conquest. Across the galaxy, former Vorzak colonies celebrated their freedom. Former enemies learned to work together. A new era had begun, founded on a revolutionary idea brought by humans. Victory didn't require extermination. The species that was nearly conquered had changed the definition of power in the galaxy forever. The last invasion of Earth had indeed become the last invasion the galaxy would ever know.